This video is basically going to be a timeline of my whole career, but this time we'll be focusing on how much money I was making along the way, right from the beginning as an intern and all the way to a senior position, as well as a self-employed interior designer. This video should really help you to understand how much realistically interior designers are earning in the UK. And you should probably keep on watching if you want to learn about it from a normal, everyday person, which is me. Hello, hi, I'm Cynthia. Welcome to Space for Edit. On this channel, we talk about all the things that they don't teach you in design school, but you need to know in the real world. Before we start today's video, I really heavily have to caveat all of this, everything that you will hear from this point and beyond. This is my own experience. This is based on my background, on my academic background, even the country that I've come from, all of my personal circumstances, how everything fell into place along the way. That's what's formed today's video and today's insight. So it will look a lot different from person to person. The amount of money that you can make as an interior designer is going to vary greatly throughout the world and even within a country, even within a city. So this, my dear friend, is just a little snippet out of the whole bigger picture. Let's get going and start right at the beginning, just after my graduation. I graduated Liverpool John Moores University in the summer of 2014 with no real world experience, no internships on my CVs, and zero connections within the industry. Plus, I am technically an immigrant, aka not a British citizen. I am Latvian, and I really do feel like that in the beginning stages of my career, that didn't quite go in my favour. I had worked in pubs and cafes and restaurants throughout my uni years, so right after graduation I held on to that source of income until I actually landed my first job. I think at that point I was taking home around £800 a month or so. I have no idea how I survived on that money, especially because at that point I was sort of living on my own as well, but somehow I made it work. It took me a year and a half-ish, if not even 2 years, to get my first paid real-world interior designer's job. During that year and a half-ish, I thought, right, well, I need some sort of an experience, something to put on my CV, something within the industry at least. So at the time, I was volunteering for some local events, like helping to make some floats, some puppets for these parades. And then I also worked for a startup company, which was basically like a multimedia type of company. They were doing some TV shows, very kind of local stuff, some blogs, newspapers and that sort of stuff. I did not care because I just wanted something on my CV, but all of this work was very much unpaid, but it kind of went towards my experience. Then eventually I managed to secure an interior design internship. I think this was around the end of summer 2015, and it was basically a junior designer's role. I was kind of helping out here and there with little jobs that needed doing, helping designers with their deadlines and just all sorts of random little things. It was very chaotic. It was unpaid. So for 3 months I was working basically Monday to Thursday. Yes, full days, so you're 8 hours for zero pay. And then on Thursday to Sunday I was driving back or getting the train back to Liverpool to work in the pub that I was working at the time, which was paying my bills. So I was working 24/7, and I remember at the time when I would come back on a Monday, I would speak to the team, catch up with everyone, and everyone would kind of like say what they've been doing over the weekends, and I was just like, oh yeah, I've been working. Yeah. And now I'm working again, and then I'm working again. So it was a hard time, but I knew that it's not gonna last for long, and I knew that it's not gonna be forever. I was just excited to have this first opportunity finally, a year after graduation. I didn't care that it was unpaid. I was getting experience. I was learning a lot. I was soaking up everything as a sponge. And after those 3 months, the company decided to keep me on, but at this time I was kind of officially a junior level designer. I was doing the work of junior level designer, but I was classed as an apprentice. So this is where the first design money comes in, and it was a whopping £22.75p a day. A full day, and let's be honest, there were some longer days as well. Whew. And I think that adds up to about £5,500 a year if you sort of stretch it out that way. So yeah, it wasn't a lot, but at the same time, I was getting something. I was getting somewhere. And again, I knew that it's not going to be for forever. This was a stepping stone towards the next big milestone. By the way, whilst we are still in this stage, I do have a video coming out about interior design internships. So I would suggest you subscribe, hit the bell to get notified, and I will leave the link below once the video is out as well. So I get this apprenticeship junior level position, and so for the next 4 to 5 months I was kind of trying to making it work with this full-time job and with some weekend shifts in the local cafe here and there, just to kind of keep me afloat. And at this point I've moved to Manchester as well. There's a lot of kind of personal situations going around these times, so that's a conversation for a different video. So during this apprenticeship time, I was obviously looking for a proper job, my first full-time position, and I got it. Eventually I got there. So my new role was a junior interior designer within quite a small design team within a huge catering supply company. So if you think about a warehouse full with commercial catering equipment, from kitchen fridges and all sorts of things like that, all the way down to cups and cutlery. So not quite your typical interior design studio setup. The design team was a very, very tiny part of the whole multi-million international company. But we were there, and it was a start for me. I was earning proper money. I didn't have to work weekends anymore. I was paying my own bills, and it was proper design work. I could finally work with real clients a year and a half after my graduation. So they signed me up for £19,000 or roughly around that per year when I first started, and I think that after around 6 months or so after the probation period, I was promoted to £22,000 a year. So not a huge amount of money, but hey ho, that was something. I was celebrating it as if it was my big breakthrough, which in a way was, when you look at how long it took me to actually get a full-time interior design job after the graduation day. So after a while in this company, I kind of started realizing how little the actual big company cared about design department and actually investing in the design team. I had lost my spark. Definitely that first excitement from getting the first job really dropped. And around that time, a colleague of mine as well was thinking of going and doing things on his own. So we kind of put our heads together and we thought, okay, let's help each other out as much as we can, and let's go and do this on our own. Not as business partners, we would still be two separate entities, but we agreed to sort of support each other as much as we can. So this started my first round of my freelance era. Back then, I believe I was charging somewhere between £120 to £160 a day for my freelance work. So on paper, if I was to work full 8-hour days, Monday to Friday, in a year with those rates, I should be earning around £33,000 pre-tax. And obviously this looks like a big jump from that £22,000 that I was getting in my job before. But obviously that was not the case in the real world. I quickly found out how much of a roller coaster self-employment is, and I often agreed to do jobs at silly low rates just to get something in, just to have something to do, just to have some money coming in. I remember doing a concept proposal for a little cafe. Yes, it was small, it was nothing big, but I charged the lady £200. It was kind of like mate rates, a mate opportunity, and yes, it didn't take me that much time, but essentially I still had to go and see the site, had to draw up plans. I did a whole concept for them. I did a whole presentation to a concept design level. So yes, during this time I was working on my own little projects here and there, and then freelancing for other interior design companies, what I was earning, what was coming in was very much up and down, and let's just face it, I was really struggling. And right before I went out on my own, we actually got engaged, so the wedding was coming up and I could see that my like up and down income is not going to cut it. So I sort of crushed under the pressure and went back and joined the workforce. So this time around, I was past the junior level. I had some self-employment knowledge under my belt. I was a lot more confident in my skills and in my role as an interior designer. So I joined this new company as a midweight designer. It was a very similar company to the one that I had left, but this time around we were focusing a lot more on the design. The design team was about 10, maybe 12 people, and we had a wider team around us as well that were supporting projects. So it did feel more like a proper interior design studio. Let's look at the numbers. I entered the role at 21,000 per year on part-time basis, since I still had some loose ends to finish off when I joined. And I believe after those few months, when I finally started full-time hours, Monday to Friday, and the probation period ended, I went up to £26,000 a year. And by the way, all of these numbers are pre-tax. And then I stayed on this level for about a year until a senior level position opened up. And obviously I took the opportunity, applied, and got promoted to a nice £35,000 a year. This was a senior levels position, and finally I felt like, yes, finally I'm getting paid for what I am doing, because up to now I always felt like I was still doing senior level work, taking care of my own clients with my own projects and managing timelines and all that, but I never actually hit that senior level on paper, black and white. The downside of it all was that unfortunately my depression and just the way that I felt about working for this company, for this employer, really took hold on me, and only after a few months I decided to leave. There were a lot of factors that really informed this decision, and it didn't just happen in one day. I decided to quit. There was a lot that happened and kind of like piled up, and I've got a full 2-part video if you want to see it. It's linked down below in the description box. But yeah, in April 2022, pretty much April the 3rd or the 4th, I handed in my notice and was immediately put on garden leave. So my journey with this company ended very abruptly, and I was escorted home and all that. You can hear about it in the video, go and watch it. But that was me. April 2022, I was back into self-employment. The plan was to take a step back, really take time to be with my family and to put more energy back into my own life rather than just working for someone else. And that's what I did. So this brings us to here and now. It is actually beginning of April 2024, so there's been whole 2 years that I have been out in the world all on my own. For the first year, as I said, I decided to just focus on freelancing, helping other designers take a step back from all of that responsibility that you need to have when you are dealing with your own projects. But eventually freelancing didn't quite work out for me either, and I started to focus on my own project again. There will be a new video coming out soon about how freelancing did not work out for me, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell if you want to get notified when that drops. So what I'm making now, I hear you ask? This, my dear friends, I'm gonna have to save for the Design Fee Mastermind students. I know, I can't believe either that I am leaving you hanging like this, but hear me out. Some things just have to have premium access, okay? I have shared my exact pricing and my actual design fees before in a video. It is a very popular video, so do make sure to check out the description below for the link. Go and see how sort of my brain works around that. But if you are in a position at a stage in your career where you are putting together your own design fees and you are lost and you have no idea how to start, how to properly price, then this might be for you. So here's the drill. I have created a few easy to follow lessons on what forms interior design fees. I've also added real actionable document templates that I use for my business to create my design fee proposals. And I've put it all together in a nice little mastermind training, and by the end of it, you will be able to figure out what you should be charging for your services right now. Listen, if you've watched this video up until this point, then you know what I have been through in my design career. I've guesstimated prices. I've worked for companies and created design proposals as of coming from a proper design studio. I've worked for myself, and let's be honest, at the end of the day, I have made it all up. I've just looked at other designers, I've kind of thought about me, and I'm like, yeah, this will do. But all that did was just let me broke, stressed, and anxious, to be honest. But now, after all of those years of experience, after all the hard lessons that I've learned, and the knowledge that I have now about how actually interior design business, a business in general, should be run, I am confident. And I say this with my hand on my heart, I am confident in the prices that I am charging, and I also have an action plan to double that within the next 2 to 3 years. The thing is, when you start to understand your own numbers, what goes in, what goes out, where you should be, where you are going, once you have a really clear vision on what that looks like, then you are unshakable. No matter what the client comes back with, no matter what the situation is like, you know where you are, you know what you're worth, you know what you're charging, and that's the end of conversation. But you do need a plan, a proper strategy, and you do need to understand those numbers to get to that point. The link to sign up is below, and if you have any questions, just drop me a DM on Instagram. And if you have a minute, it would be great if you could leave a comment down below and share your experience in the industry, if you do have any, in pricing, or maybe you are working for yourself, maybe you're working for someone else. It would be great to see how much interior designers are charging and earning all around the world, so we can use that comment section as a bit of a Google and to understand how much interior designers' fees really differentiate all around the world. So if you do have a minute, leave a comment below and I'll chat with you there, but if not, then I'll see you in the next one. Bye!